Is astrology a guide to aid us in mastering the universe? This is the Cosmic Community Podcast with Galactic Ambassador Stacey Dredd. Hey everyone, thanks for being tuned in to KPOV 88.9 FM, your high desert community radio in Bend, Oregon. I hope you're having a good day. This is Stacey Dredd, Galactic Ambassador in the Cosmic Community Astrology program here on KPOV 4:30 to 5 p.m. every Tuesday. And this is where we discuss the week's lunar and planetary influences, how the energies may be felt, and how we may be able to live within the cycles of the universe to create a more benevolent life for all. So thank you so much for tuning in today and making time and space to receive these messages. It is definitely, I mentioned last week at the end of the program that it was like a chill week this week, and you can definitely say that, except for, actually it's not. So every week in the astrology has important aspects and things happening. And, I'm going to definitely get into that, right now. So I'm coming in on September 13th from the Pacific coast of the United States here in Bend, Oregon. And so if you're tuning in from another place, you'll have to do the math to get your times exactly right. But on the 13th, Tuesday, today, it's the moon is in Taurus. So we start out this reading with the Taurus moon, which is very comfortable, very chill. It's an earth energy, very grounded, a solid, definitely a consistent, solid energy and earth energy. And so great time to tune in with the earth energies and with the Taurus moon by just like enjoying the Venus things, enjoying the Venusian things. Venus rules the sign of Taurus. And so that's going to be all things comfortable. So that's like your comfortable clothes, soft fabrics, really delicious foods and beverages. And it's a time to slow down just a little bit. Taurus energy is a little slow. It's fixed energy. And so it can tend to be even a little stubborn and want to dig in the heels a little bit. But like if we're trying to slow down, you kind of do need to dig in the heels a little bit sometimes to find traction enough to slow yourself down. So within the Taurus vibes, you just kind of enjoy. You enjoy the good things, the pleasurable things, and you apply your energy towards those pleasures and those good things in life. So that is where the week is starting off. So a great time tonight and the rest of this day to really find those things that bring you pleasure. Really enjoy some things, stop and smell the roses, as they say, because the rest of the week does have a little more activity to it. On September 14th, that's Wednesday, we are going to get our official Saturn-Uranus square of 2022. If you were here with me during 2021, you heard me discussing the Saturn-Uranus square the entire year because it was a huge aspect that was coloring the entire year of 2021. And so just to kind of like backtrack a little bit to that, Saturn represents everything old, everything that is in place. Saturn also represents responsibility. So things that are very serious, that require our serious attention to complete things that we are responsible for and to devote our energy to that. Saturn is very cold. Saturn can be representative of like the father energy. Saturn is where we learn about the rules and the boundaries of our situation, Saturn brings in very much an old, worn out sort of feel in this square with Uranus. Uranus is the planet of everything new. Uranus represents change and shifting, and Uranus represents spontaneous change. So things happening on a dime, spinning 180 and finding yourself in a totally new situation when Uranus is involved. Uranus represents things about the future. Uranus is also representative of technology. And so technology, that we are moving into using in the future, and very much the mindset is on moving forward. Saturn wants to stay in one place. Uranus wants to change and move around all the time and make shifts constantly. So you can see where this square energy is a little tough. The square is a 90-degree angle. So if you're looking at the astrological chart, we've got Saturn at about 20 degrees of Aquarius, and Uranus is just about 18 degrees of Taurus. And so this isn't an exact conjunction. They will come into 18 degrees together, as Saturn and Uranus are both in a retrograde fashion right now. So, this has already been building and will continue to be in play for a few months until these planets go out of retrograde and continue to move forward. And then we should be done with this Saturn-Uranus square of this moment. And so we are tapping back into themes from 2021 naturally here. What is it from 2021 that is unresolved for you, or in regards to things in your life? This is giving us an opportunity, always an opportunity to be had, because after all, I am a Sagittarius, so I am ruled by Jupiter. I'm always looking for the silver lining. So this is giving us, of course, an opportunity to turn and look and see if there's anything that we need to tweak here. Do we need to review some things? Do we need to reassess some things in regards to where we need to let the old things go and allow the new things to come in? So this to me is very much like opening the doors and opening the windows energy. It's like, how when you're kind of stuck in a little vacuum and then you open up, everything kind of sucks in, and then boof, it's the release. It's that that weird little moment, where that wow, you finally realize kind of when those windows open, the doors open, I didn't realize how stuffy it was in here, until I was able to see kind of my way out of that. So this is the Saturn-Uranus square on September 14th. It's going to be affecting us for, like I said, time in and time out of this. So, what's come up from 2021? Again, what are some themes that you thought you were done with last year, and then now we're realizing that you really do need to do something about this. The moon is also in play on September 14th, and so this could be very emotional. The moon is going to come into a conjunction with Uranus, which is very electric, and then is going to be coming into that conjunction with Saturn 2 hours later. And so the moon's going to be moving through, really activating the emotions around this. The moon reminds us how we feel about things when it comes around. So I just wanted to make sure that I got that right. So the moon is going to be in a conjunction with Uranus and then squaring Saturn 2 hours later, just to correct myself there. Stacy Dredd, Galactic Ambassador here in the cosmic community. Thanks for joining me to dive into the planetary and lunar influences we're feeling right now. It's a very, very internal time right now. We have the majority of the planets in retrograde. Well, since last week, Mercury has gone into retrograde also. So that leaves just Mars and Venus hanging in the direct fashion. Mars is already slowing down in the sign of Gemini and going to be in the sign of Gemini for 6 months in a retrograde. And Venus is still kind of moving ahead and doing her thing. But while Mars is slowing down and Venus is in Virgo, we are going to be coming into, on Friday, September 16th, a very spicy day. This is going to be a fiery day, and it's going to be felt already right now because we are within 5 degrees of this happening, Venus squaring Mars. And so this is Venus representing the everything feminine and the receptive part of ourselves, the nurturing side of ourselves. This is Venus represents in our lives love, trust, and what we value. And Mars is in Gemini, feeling very, very much in the air sign, ready for that change, the thing that air signs represent, change and movement. And within Gemini, like hanging out with people, because Gemini is like a super social sign. And so this square that is building between Mars and Venus already in play, and the square represents a challenge. A time where we're going to be learning something. Mars is the masculine vibe. Mars is the masculine archetype in astrology. And so you have the masculine warrior and the feminine warrior in a square with each other. And this is going to be actually in play for a couple of weeks because of the way that Mars is slowing down for his retrograde. So if you can remember, back in February, March, we had a time when Venus and Mars were traveling together in the sign of Capricorn. And that was a little conversation that they were having. They were having a moment after Venus's retrograde when they were moving together, basically holding hand in hand, having a big old talk about things that were happening. Well, here we are 6 months later. There I'm talking about those 6 month cycle again. Oh, there's something about the number 6 right now in the 6 month cycle. But here we are 6 months later, and these two are in a square. And so it could be bringing up some of those same themes that we were discussing when these two were in Capricorn earlier in the year. So if you can think back to that time, January, February, March. I would have to go back and check out exactly when that was. But January, February, March, when these two were hanging out together. Oh, there it is. Okay. This is in February and March. So, what has come around? What are we still needing to learn here? So something's going on this week within relationships. Venus and Mars going to be in this kind of tense square, and we're going to be feeling this in relationships. This is like a push pull. This is where we might feel one way and yet feel another way. There might be parts of us, pulled in one direction or the other. Or within relationships, there's going to be one person, the other person, something pulling, a push-pull in relationships. This could be in romantic relationships. This could be in business relationships. This could be in a relationship that you have with yourself yourself. Like if you're going through some, big issues, with like, say your self-esteem or your self-worth, that's like your relationship that you have with your own self-worth, so this could be within relationships of all types, that there is going to be a tenseness, there is going to be a toughness to relationships this week. It could be potentially carrying with it a lot of friction. It could result in a potentially explosive matter because of the way that the square, really challenges us. And also on September 16th, we have in play a little bit of a fuzzy confusion that is also in play with the sun opposing Neptune. So the sun represents how we express ourselves, and Neptune represents the sixth sense, mysticism and everything that is like unseen and unknown and mysterious. Neptune in an opposition with the sun just really puts a lot of that fuzziness and that mysterious nature onto the sun being the main kind of like filter that we kind of are experiencing this life through. The sun is in Virgo right now. Virgo is an earth energy. Virgo is a feminine energy. And so we are having a bit of confusion, really in play here with this opposition. And so Friday looks to me like kind of one of those days to be extra careful with. If you find yourself in situations where, you're getting into a tense, conversation with someone else, or you're having a tense moment, like things just aren't vibing, the chemistry is just not there. Like, don't feel bad about it. Just pull out and wait for the energy to kind of clear up, so that you can make sure that, you are indeed, getting a clear view of what's going on, so we don't make any, rash decisions or do anything that, is kind of like, big and over the top because we're like confused, or we're kind of our imagination, our creativity's in play here. So like, I'm a super creative person, and so I know that when my mind gets going, that it's creative no matter what. And if my mind gets going in like a negative way, or like I'm on like in a bad place, that my creativity is just as strong. My imagination is just as good at coming up with stuff and creating a big story around things as when I am focused on other things, and when my energy is in a better place. So I don't know if that kind of like makes sense to you out there. That's kind of how I feel like this day on Friday is a tough day, and that we just need to really allow some extra time and space for this energy to dissipate before we grab on to any which way that things might feel or go. Also, with this big Neptune opposing the sun energy, this could also represent storms or tsunamis or big waves of things. So Pisces and Neptune, represent the ocean and as a water sign. So we could see the pipes bursting one way or another here on Friday, September 16th. And so moving forward into the weekend, with those big energies on the 14th and the 16th of September, we're really going to need some time. The moon is in Gemini on Friday and Saturday. It's a good time to call on friends and to chat things out. Gemini moons are always just really social beneficial and good for one-on-one conversations, good for just kind of like shooting the, and allowing that your imagination, your creativity to come out in a different way, if you're finding yourself really like bound up mentally. So that's my like little tidbit there of maybe a way to deal with this overpowering storm of the oceanic, energy that might be felt coming up later this week. So Stacy Dredd, Galactic Ambassador here in the cosmic community. Next, just looking forward to next week. We are really in the last week of Virgo season, and going to be, entering into Libra time on September 22nd. And so, that, is at 6 p.m. in the evening. If you're going to be celebrating the fall equinox, that is when, that occurs, exactly here, on the West Coast. And then the very next day, on the 23rd, we have Mercury re-entering the sign of Virgo, still in a retrograde fashion. And then the new moon on the 25th, the new moon in Libra. A really great way to start out Libra season with the new moon, creating some brand new intentions for that next 30-day period, 28-day period. That is the beautiful time of the balancing that we receive during Libra season. So if you need to access the archives of this program, you can find that at kpov.org/thecosmiccommunity, and that's available to share out. I appreciate you sharing me with your family and friends and bringing more people into this great community of which we call the cosmic community here on KPOV. I guess, really this week ends with another big opposition energy, and that is the opposition between Mercury in Libra, and Mercury is retrograde, and Jupiter in Aries, and Jupiter is also retrograde. And so when planets are in retrograde, it's just like, it's a time that we could maybe, feel these energies just a little less, or maybe be like a little less in tune, with, how we can be using these energies to their highest vibration, right? And so that could just be, another thing, just adding a little bit of confusion to the mind. So do as much as you can, when the moon enters, in Cancer on Sunday and Monday, to just like take care of yourself, nurture yourself, be your own mother, give yourself lots of hugs and talk really good things to yourself. And, I will chat with you next week. I really appreciate your support. Have such a great week. Peace. Thank you for listening to the Cosmic Community Podcast. More can be found at kpov.org/thecosmiccommunity.